How to be happy in your marriage. Hello, ladies, and welcome to this show. I am very happy to receive an awesome coach. She is amazing. She's the president and CEO of Bottom Line, Sarah Hiner. Hello, Sarah. How are you doing today?
I am great. How are you?
I'm doing good. You know, what is funny is that I talk to a lot of people, and we were introduced together by our friends in common, and I was amazed by your knowledge. But I realized that you have been in the personal development industry since you were a little kid. And I wanted to talk about your journey, but also about your marriage, because today I want to focus on how can we build a long marriage, a strong relationship. What are the key secrets that you can share with us? But can you talk a little bit about Bottom Line, the company that you're managing today, and your journey in personal development?
So Bottom Line Inc. it's actually a family business. You wanted me to mention. So my father started the company. I tell my children I've been working since I'm 12 years old, and maybe that's why I'm so old and wise. I was talking to customers when I was 15 and helping them with their customer service challenges. It really was our family activity, which held the glue of our family together, which I think is part of happy marriages. We'll get to that. But Bottom Line is actually an information provider. We've been publishers for, again, nearly 50 years, talking to top experts, giving information on what should you do about something. It's not just the news. I'll call it the second story. It's not what's happening in the news. It's what does it mean to you? What's the information you need to make a decision about it? So there's a new vaccine out. Should you take it? What are the considerations? What are the questions you should ask about it? So we talk to all the top experts and help people be in control of their lives, because everybody has unique situations. So I can't tell you exactly what you should do, Alex, because your situation is different than someone else's, than mine, but I can give you the steps in the background so that you can then be in control and ask the questions that you need. All quick, easy to read, easy to digest. So super actionable. It was very current, even though we started it 50 years ago. My father was so forward thinking. He was a brilliant man.
He was a visionary, you know, because I was doing my research,
Right.
and I saw that he created the website in 1972, right? Am I correct?
No, not the website. The
The
publication.
company, yeah, the
Publication
website, the
started in
company.
1972. The
I
website
was
started
like,
in the mid 90s. Yeah,
yeah,
mid
I
90s.
understand. Sorry for this, but yeah, I was like, just to have this knowledge at this time, I was wow, blown
Well,
away. So,
he
and
was
we go
he
ahead.
was he was so thirsty for knowledge. He
Mhm.
grew up. He was a poor kid in Newark, New Jersey. His father died when he was in high school. And he was a sponge for learning. And he read every book, every magazine, everything he could learn to become excellent at what he is, which is exactly, that's why he was so successful. Lessons in life, number one, you want to be great, you absorb knowledge. It takes effort. You don't just wake up one day and go, oh, I'm an expert. How cool is that? He was an amazing, creative man, fascinating man, created um, dinners. We would have these monthly dinners with our experts, just kind of networking dinners, invite them into a beautiful restaurant, the old Four Seasons in New York. And then we were doing it at the Modern in New York when there were restaurants open in New York.
Yeah.
But it was just a great sharing of ideas. It was really a beautiful thing. So now Bottom Line Personal is our big publication. If you want to know, Bottom Line Personal is the publication, easy to read, portable. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. So I will include all the links just right below. I wanted to start with this question because I want to show the community that it's very important to look for research, for knowledge. There is personal development. So there is a solution for everything. When I went on your website, I have seen experts from everywhere giving me advice, actions that I can do now. And based also on my situation, my personality. So I found it very valuable. So please, ladies, make sure that you will click on the link, just discover the website. I would also include the YouTube channel so you can watch Sarah's doing a lot of videos with experts in their
Like you.
field. Yeah, I was also
You
on the
can see
show.
Alex on my YouTube channel.
So Sarah, to talk about today's subject, it's about relationship. You know, a lot of people are telling me, Alex, marriage is done, marriage is dead. We cannot be in a relationship anymore. Men are too difficult to understand. And you are a successful entrepreneur. You're married for 33 years.
Mhm.
And when I talked to you the first time, your husband was really in the car, you were joking to each other. It felt like you were 15 years old together. And it's just amazing. What could be, let's say, if we start with the number one secret, the first thing that is for you the most important one, what it will be?
So the best man at our wedding gave us a toast that was something to the effect of that we would grow together and as individuals in love,
Mm,
right? And that was as brief as it was. And I think that that's probably one of the key tenets of our marriage. And he's 33 years old. I'd marry him again in a heartbeat. I love my husband. He's just awesome. Is he perfect all the time? Am I perfect all the time? No, he pisses me off. I piss him off. Like that's life, but that's okay. But the key is that, and I think a lot of people make a mistake, and Alex, you and I talked about this a little bit at some point. People think their spouse is supposed to be their everything, and they lose themselves when they go into a relationship. And they think now that they're married, they're done with the rest of their life. They might have a career, they might have a whatever, but they kind of lose themselves. And my husband and I have spent 33 years being together, sharing together, but we also have our lives. We trust each other. So like I have one of my best friends from college is a guy. I talk to him all the time. It's okay, right? Like that it's
he's not
just
jealous.
he's not jealous, he's not fearful. He knows this guy, he loves this guy. Ron has friends that are he's still in touch with his old girlfriend that they're Facebook, like whatever. It's okay. Like I know we love, but we trust each other, but we have our lives and they're not secret lives. They're simply, we each have our parts, which makes it more interesting because then I can bring a piece of my life to us. If
Mhm.
all we do is always us, it's really boring because I know everything already. There's
Yeah.
nothing to learn from each other.
So, that's something very much important. I say in love, 1 + 1 = 3, not two,
Mhm.
because there is the relationship to maintain and each other, we need to have our own life, which is very much important. Now, the question that I was dying to ask you, how do you balance your life between your job, your husband, so your love life, your kids? Now I know that they grew up, but how
They're
did
still
you
in my life.
do it? Yeah, how do you do it, and how did you do it? What was the secrets for you to balance your life and not be codependent on your husband or focus only on your kids and forget about you?
So I think that there's that it's a factor of quality, not quantity, is
Mhm.
one number important. And two was I definitely did have my schedule a little bit. So for example, when my kids were young, I mean, now they're grown, they're 23 and 26 and onto their lives, although very much in my life. You've met my daughter. She's been in and out of living here, sometimes New York, sometimes here. Um, but when they were young, I would work, I would come home, and I was 100% focused on my kids for those 2, 3 hours, whatever it was, from the time I got home, 6 o'clock till bedtime when they were young. As they got older, I was still 100% focused on them at that point in time. At 9 o'clock, I said, now it's mom's time. So if they
Mhm.
went to bed, if they were up a little bit later, I was around, but I wasn't dangling rattles in their face, or I was done playing games with them because they also knew I had to have time for me. Because if you don't have time for yourself, then you don't have anything at all either. So at one point, I was actually taking ballroom dancing lessons. And I would be with the
Whoa.
kids. I would leave at 9 o'clock at night to go do my dance lessons because that's when I could do it. Or I got my MBA at some point. Same thing. That I would do it. So I needed the time for me. I needed the time for my kids. But it didn't take, like, they always knew that I was accessible. They could find me, they could call me, they knew I would be there. And if they needed me at 3 in the afternoon, they could get me as well. As far as my husband, the nice thing was we worked together for many years, so I would see him at work. So, but uh, which is good. But I think there's the small things that you do that let them know you love them. Like I make sure that I look my husband in the eye and say hi. I make sure he knows, I tell him I love him every day. I say thank you. I acknowledge little things so that they know they're not invisible. So even though we're not sitting down and playing games or watching movies every night, which, oh, by the way, we don't, but there's the time that we're together, we are looking at each other, we are talking, we are sharing. I'm aware, I'm grateful. He knows that I see him. He knows that I know what he's doing, so that he's not invisible in my life, nor am I invisible in his life. So it's subtle things, it's small things can go a very long way in a relationship, especially when you're all busy and juggling.
And I just realized that talking to a lot of people, the little things are the things that we don't do. We focus on creating something magical, but the day-to-day actions that we have to do to create this love and this attraction, we are taking these actions for granted. So it's very important what you're just saying, because this is how we can maintain the love, the attention, and show that this person is very important in our eyes. That is
I
very,
say,
very, yeah.
literally, like, please and thank you. I mean, it seems so stupid, but I had a friend who was throwing her husband under the bus. Now, this is a very high maintenance friend. She's a high maintenance. Like, this guy was the nicest guy. And this woman was like, do this for me, do this for me, this for me. And this guy would, like, he redid their house. Like, he was amazing. And she was constantly complaining about him. And she's complaining to me. I said, do you ever, like, from the outside looking in, he seems pretty great. I said, do you ever thank him? Well, I said, try thanking him. Try, like, he'll be more attentive to you if he knows that he's noticed. My husband is not, you and I were joking about this. Like, he's not a chatty Cathy. He's a much more quiet. He's like a man of fewer words. But he shows his love in other ways by doing things. Like, he makes sure that my light is on for my interviews. He makes sure there are things he takes care of. And he doesn't look for credit. He doesn't say anything. He'll just do it. It's just handled. And if I don't so I make sure that I notice that stuff and acknowledge it, because that's how he's showing me that he loves me. It's not that he's buying me fancy clothes. It's not that he's fawning over me all the time. It's those small things that's so important, those little details of how everybody shows love in their unique way.
But when you say this, I just love it so much. And I want to ask you, because most of the people that I coach, women and men that are in trouble in their marriage, it's because there is a little routine. How are you able to do it 33 years after? Because you have this consciousness of telling him, oh, my light is on for my interview, which is very important for you. And he knows that and he's able to do it. Right. How do you have the reflex to say, thank you? Oh, that's amazing. After 33 years, sorry.
I honestly, genuinely am so appreciative of it. It's not, I don't have to think about it because I genuinely am grateful. And I have to tell him my schedule. He didn't magically know that I needed the light on right now. I had, especially since I normally do interviews on Thursdays, my own Facebook Lives. But, so I'll ask him and he'll do it. But there are many things that he does without my even paying attention. But I honestly, genuinely am so appreciative. And I just am. Like, it just is. Now, if you want to talk about how do we keep our lives from being boring?
We can also, that would be because, you have the life and there's the excitement. So how do you create this excitement for you and for your husband?
We have a very boring life. But we like it boring. It's okay. My husband could eat, hamburgers for dinner every night. He'd be happy. It's okay. I go, are you sure you don't want to change it up a little bit? He's like, no, why should I? So again, I think a lot of it is your expectations. Like, what do you really want? And then you create together toward those expectations. Now I joke, I have a very boring life. And I mean that in the best of ways. We don't lie. We don't cheat. I don't, even when the kids were young and, you want to save that dollar on the train by lying about their age. I don't do that. He doesn't do that. We just live a nice, respectful life. We take care of our home. We walk the dog. We enjoy. So now, again, we're not jet-setting people. We have a simple life. We have our friends, and that's okay for us. Though, do we? I try to mix it up sometimes. I think it depends on the individual, and what do you really want and need, and then you have to communicate it, or you make it happen. Big reminder: I can't force him to do anything. I can't change him. If I want something to happen, it's up to me. It's up to me to bring the energy. It's up to me to bring the suggestion. If I want to shift his energy, if he's kind of gloomy, I can't say, hey, you're being gloomy. I have to bring my energy You go, hey, what's happening? Let me give you a big hug. And and inspire him out of that and into another place. Because we can't, ladies, you cannot change your husband. You do not marry a pet husband. You married a partner, right?
That's true.
Right.
So do you recommend to have an open communication if you feel that something is wrong, if you don't like something? Do you feel that we need to have an open communication about it, or we need to not say anything to with the fear to lose someone, for example?
I think yes. And what I mean by that is that I think you need to have an open communication. If you have issues, you need to speak up.
Mhm.
I think that sometimes we complain about stuff that you just don't need to complain about. We all have our isms. So who the guy is that you dated is who the guy is when you got married and who he's going to be. We might adapt, but that's who they are. So if there was when your guy got when you were dating the guy and he never put his dishes in the dishwasher. I don't know. I mean, you can train him on it, but I'm making up a silly example, right? That and it just doesn't sink in. Then you go, can I live with that? Right? It's the old toothpaste tube thing. Can I live with that? Like, go ahead. It's like if you're mad about the toothpaste tube, buy a second tube of toothpaste. Right. So you find ways around. Like we drive ourselves crazy on things that just don't matter. So there's the old my mother's advice of pick your battles. So what do you really want to die on your sword for? What is it really going to drive you crazy for? And is it your problem, not their problem? Right. So sometimes it's your own thing. Like, so you're making an issue. It's your, like, you got to balance it and figure out what's really worth it. So when it's worth it, have that communication. If it's really important to you that you go to, go on a walk every week, like that's important to you, or you want to have him to be part of family dinner, or you want to participate in helping with the kids, right? That it's not your job, it's not a pass off, that you wanted to do things together as a family. When kids are young, you end up, it's like passing. I'll trade this one. I'll take this one to the soccer field while you take this one to dance class, right? So then you have to communicate the rules of what your life is and what you want it to be. But there's a bunch of stuff that we all get hung up on that honestly, like, all you're doing is driving yourself crazy and it's not doing anything but annoying you.
That is very important advice, to let go, to pick your battle. I just
Yeah.
love your mother advice because
I'm
we want the things to be perfect. We are putting a lot of pressure on ourselves, so on our partners too, for sometimes little things. But if there is something that bothers you, I feel that communication is very much the key. Because I have coached so many people, ladies first, telling me, Alex, but if I tell him this, do you think I will lose him? Do you feel that he will not be happy with me? And so they start to keep things inside, and not share anything. So they ended up not being happy. And I feel that communication is very much important.
well, but let me ask you this, Alex, for those
Yeah.
people. If they're that afraid that they say something to their partner and they're going to lose the guy, then there's not that much strength in the relationship. I take my husband off all the time. Like I do so I know him. I interrupt. I'm an interrupter. I'm on to the next idea. Drives him batty. As hard as I try. Drives him batty. But he loves me beyond that, right? He loves my energy. Like he understands, like that's my interrupting is part of my strength and part of my weakness. It's who I am. So if these people are that afraid that if you put a request, like that, where's that vulnerability? Why are they so afraid? And why is the relationship so fragile? Now, I understand it if you're in the first 3 months of dating and you suddenly, you want to decide whether or not you're going steady and if, start picking out your flowers and reserve the caterer. Got that. Don't be talking about that at 3 months. But beyond that, if these people that are married, however long, a year or two, you're married. If you're married and you're that afraid you're going to lose your guy, you got a much bigger problem going on,
That's
in
true.
my humble opinion.
Of course, that's something that is very important. And I just feel that doing actions, first of all, for your self-confidence, everything comes back to self-development, to love yourself, to be stronger, and then to open communication. Because as Sarah is saying, the problem is if you have the fear to lose someone, so you cannot be yourself in the relationship, that will just end up being worse and worse and worse
Right.
after months and years. Question for you, Sarah. How can you manage a conflict So maybe you didn't have any conflict with your husband, but maybe in life in general, how do you manage someone that really there is a conflict here, we need to solve it? What are the key elements to be able to communicate better?
So that's actually an interesting question. I had a temper when I was young. I had a wicked temper. And in our early days of marriage, I had a temper, and I'm not proud of it. And I also wouldn't back down to a fight. That if there was something wrong, my husband would be like, you guys do this all the time. They go, go to sleep, I'm done. No, I just want to fight it out. Right. And he can't stand fighting for whatever. It's like he has a very low threshold of raised voices and anger. Like he's extremely sensitive to that, and he will shut down when it gets that emotional. It's just his biomechanics.
Mhm.
Me, um, I'm like, what do you mean? Right. So it wasn't successful in our early marriage. Like and again, we're married 33 years. I adore him. We've had our ups and downs, like everybody has, but we were committed in the big picture to it. So how do I handle conflict now? And again, I can't change him. I can talk about my needs from him and hope that he will shift and appreciate it. But I had to shift. I realized I was not being constructive in my behavior. It wasn't helping if I was being a terrier and I wouldn't let my teeth out of something. And my core, like my adrenaline was just so going that I needed to learn to step back and go, hold on, this isn't working. It's not working for him. And it's not, all it is tearing me apart. It's damaging the relationship. And half the time, oh, by the way, the fights are about nothing. Again, he's not cheating on me. He's not spending my money. He's not gambling. I'm not doing that. I'm not overspending. We're paying our mortgage. So most of the stuff that you fight about is stupid. Absolutely stupid. So you go, that's like, so now at this point, I'll express my frustration. I'll joke about it. Sometimes we'll just kind of like humorously go, oh, honey, you did that again. Right. Just kid about it. Yesterday, actually, we were having a conversation. He said something, it ticked me off. I got angry for the moment. We stopped. I had to go off. I came back later on and we talked about it. And I said, okay, here's how I was feeling. Here's what was going on. So, we took a break, we came back. So, they're different. I gave you a
Ways.
multifaceted question, a
But
multifaceted answer. Like some of it, I let go of it. Some of it I had to shift me. And some of it, I took a break. You come back with a rational mind and you go, okay, let's break this down because this one was a bigger thing that I needed him to understand how I got hurt. And he needed me to understand what he was trying to say to me. And then we grew from it. Conflict, you learn from conflict. You learn from disagreement. If you want a clone of yourself, you don't need a partner. You just go sit in front of a mirror.
that's true. That's true. But what I find very powerful is in what you're saying is that you have to face yourself. You have to focus on yourself, do this introspection of, okay, when I'm doing this, it's not working. If I switch, what will happen? And it's
Right.
not everyone that has this confidence or that is able to do the work. So it's very valuable. So ladies, if you're watching this video, ask yourself. Don't blame yourself, but ask yourself, maybe what can you change? What can you try as a new way of behaving with your husband, with your boyfriend? And you will see that you will be able to have some results.
Yeah.
Sarah, the last question I wanted to ask you, how did you maintain your goals and dreams? Because you are married for 33 years, you built this company, your two kids are now big enough to enjoy their life. So how did you keep maintaining your life? There is people, and mostly women that I coach, when they turn 40, 45 years old, they realize that they've done everything, but they don't know themselves. So I wanted to ask this question because I feel that it will be very important for them.
Yeah, 45 was so long ago, I can't even remember.
I'm
um,
sorry. I was
no,
like,
no. You're being great. You're so nice to me, Alex. No, I think that's a really good question. So some people are very goal oriented and they go, I'm going to get married by this age. I'm going to have 3.2 children. I'm going to live in this kind of house. I'm going to drive. They've got their plan. Well, that's great. It's nice to set those goals. except for the fact that they don't always work out that way.
Mhm.
If they do, that's great. Maybe it will, but maybe it won't. But if you're that structured and stringent on your goals, you're going to be frustrated, disappointed, and spend your life constantly chasing something that's not going to get there. So for good or for bad, my husband and I, we had similar values. I think it's vital to have similar values, which we did in terms of just, how do you treat people with respect, right? All that sort of stuff. But we were not big planners. When I met him, he wasn't getting married. Then we got married. He wasn't having kids. Right? It just wasn't on his, and I wasn't attached to it. But somehow, as we evolved together, we were opportunistic, and I don't mean that in a negative way. We moved along, and then when we needed a shift, we shifted. And then we said, okay, well, let's research this. Let's research that. So our lives have actually just been an evolution of different choices. So we never felt like we hit an end goal or stopped. Somehow it evolved, and every stage is different, right? So every stage of life, when we were dating, it was one thing. When we were married for 7 years before we had kids, and then by the time, then after 7 years, we'd done our things, we'd had some money in the bank, like somehow then we were ready for the next stage. So then we felt like we were ready for kids. When it's young kids, obviously a lot of it's about the kids, and you live in that. Like that's the thrill. I loved being on the soccer field. I loved being on the field hockey field. Like that was fun. Then they got to high school. Then they went to college. Now they're out of the house. So you evolve and adapt for what your different life stages are. And then it changes. It all looks different. I love being, my two daughters are like two of my best friends. I love being with them. Our relationship is obviously very different now than it was, but I love that part of it. Like you can't let yourself we lock ourselves into these things that we think we should be or should have, which is great, but it leads to disappointment.
And did you set any goals or vision for the next 15, 20, 30 years? How do you know that you will be able to maintain this love, this relationship with your husband, this happiness in your life? How do you see the future?
Well, 30 years, I hope I'm still living. But if I follow all my own advice, then I will be.
Exactly.
Well, let's see. I mean, again, I think that we talk now actually, because again, our girls, we have one daughter that's getting married, and then my other daughter is, again, she's out, assuming this pandemic ever ends, then she's really out. And my husband and I now we're talking about like, what's our next passion? And honestly, it's been an interesting challenge. I'm surprised at what an interesting challenge it's been for me to go back to thinking about what do I want, and to give ourselves permission to think about vacations that we want to go to without the kids, or what's our next passion, or what's our goal. So, I mean, but I've had little things like when I turned 60, I wanted to hike a 14,000-foot mountain. And everyone else in my family had done that. I hadn't done that. So for my 60th birthday last year, my husband, my daughter, and I hiked a 14,000-foot mountain.
Wow.
I did.
That's amazing.
So I think, again, I don't have like that by the time I die, I'm going to anything, because every day I have a goal. Every day I have a goal to love my husband, to let him know that he's loved, to love my kids, to let them know that they're loved, to know that I contributed to society, like that I was good to people, that I made a difference in the world of people around me. And if every day I do that, and I do it, and I'm open to opportunities and meeting new people, as you and I recently met, that like I go to bed at night and I go, that was a good day. And that's like, that is enough.
I can feel the same. I can feel exactly your words. And that, ladies and people listening to this video, it is very important for you to every single day be focused on what you have to do and what you want to do, basically. You will feel this power within yourself that maybe today you're feeling a little bit sad, depressed, but you can change this. Sarah, thank you so much for your time. I would like to talk a little bit about bottomlineinc.com, your website. I know that you're also working on happiness. There is something big, huge coming very soon.
I am. I actually was just going to say something about happiness, because in general, I have this worldview, this philosophy that people have so much more power over their lives than they give themselves credit for,
Mhm.
right? Then they become victims. They say, oh, well, I can't help it because whatever, right? My husband this, my boyfriend that, my kids this. And that's just wrong. And when it comes to your health and your happiness in particular, happiness, who was Eleanor Roosevelt, I think, said happiness is a choice.
Mhm.
But people, like, we've dissociated it, right? So our bodies, like, we've dissociated our emotions from our bodies, but the fact of the matter is they're fully connected, and the choices that we make all over feed each other and our happiness. So the program that I'm working on is helping people realize they have control over their happiness. Life stinks right now, you're locked in, money's a problem, all that sort of stuff. But
Mhm.
how you react, again, what we're talking about, every little thing, how you react affects your body and your hormones, which give you feedback for how you feel. So every time I would get mad at my husband about something or mad at my kids about something, it bathed me in cortisol and hormones that
Mhm.
suppressed my hormones that make me feel good, that gave me a headache, gave me a stomach ache, all those things because I was ticked off about something stupid, right? So, so this happiness project is to help people. It's called the Awakening Happiness, and it's to help people realize what they have in them. We know how to be happy. You were happy when you were 4 years old, running around, tumbling on the yard, but as we've grown, it gets beaten you out of you, but it's in there. And if you can understand, if I help people understand how their body works and the way that we impact our body and how we can use our body to help us, you can feel happy. You can be happy even in a moment where it's frustrating. So that's a really exciting project. Bottomlineinc.com. We've got all sorts of great content on there. We've got blogs. My blog, I'm very proud of my blog. It's called Common Threads. You're listening to my blog now. This is like whatever comes out of Sarah's observations on life, Sarah's life lessons, which I've been working with people my whole life. My husband likes bicycles and he likes mechanical things. I like people. I'm fascinated by human behavior. I always have been. So my blog is, my commentary on life. We have podcasts. I do a Facebook Live on Facebook. We have a YouTube channel that's growing. I've got hundreds of videos on there. All of this under the Bottom Line Inc. Um, name, and really excited and proud. Besides everything else, Alex, one of the biggest things is we are what I call free from the influence of advertising. We don't have advertisers. We are fact checked. No one else fact checks out there. We fact
Mhm.
check. So in a land where you can't trust what you're getting, I'm really proud of how the level of integrity that we have in everything that we do. And that I think is, that lets me sleep well at night.
I can imagine because when I was doing my research, I was looking at every piece of content. And what is very powerful for me, it's the 360 degrees. So you can work on health, finance, happiness, love. You have expert for every field. So ladies and people, if you need good advice, you can check the blogs, you can check the YouTube and the Facebook. This is all for free. Then if you want to sign up for more, you can. And Sarah, I encourage you to tell me when the happiness will be released, your course, because that's something that everyone needs. That's
I would absolutely love to. I'm going to do a free webinar currently scheduled for February 20, the last
20,
Thursday in February. I'll get it to you. So we'll put it on this YouTube
so it will
channel
be the
down below.
25th.
I love that you do this down below.
Yeah,
Uh, so
it will be the 25th.
I think I lost track. Whatever the last Thursday in February is going to be the webinar, and then we're going to launch that's a free webinar where I'm just going to talk about it. And
Mhm.
Rebecca, who is a brilliant editor who's working with me on the content development, she and I will be talking about the program. And then the program itself will launch about a month later. So super
Sounds
excited.
good. Thank you so much, Sarah, for your time. I really appreciate our interview. I wanted you to share your wisdom because you have a lot of knowledge. So, ladies, you need to click on the link below. You need to be ready for the last Thursday of February for this webinar. I know you will have a lot of fun, and I will see you soon. Sarah, thank you so much for being here on this YouTube channel and for this interview. It's been a lot
Well,
to
thank you. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sarah. Bye bye.